that's the part no one understands. I knew something was wrong, not in a vague way, not in a maybe I'm overthinking way. I mean, I knew. I could feel it in the silence, in the distance, in the way things never really got better, no matter how much I tried. And still, I stayed. And that's the part that's hard to explain. Because when you finally see it, you assume that's when everything changes. That's when you leave. That's when you choose yourself. That's when it ends. But that's not what happened to me. Seeing the truth didn't set me free. It trapped me in a different way. Because now, I couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't tell myself it was the normal. I couldn't ignore the patterns. I saw them clearly. And that clarity didn't give me strength. It gave me anxiety. Because now I had a choice and I wasn't ready to make it. So instead of leaving, I stayed with awareness. And that is a completely different kind of pain. Because when you don't know, you still have hope. But when you know and you stay anyway, you start questioning yourself in a deeper way. What's wrong with me? Why can't I walk away? Why am I still here if I see everything? And those questions don't come with easy answers. Because the truth is, I didn't stay because I didn't see it. I stayed because something inside me wasn't ready to let go. Not of them, but of what I believed they could be. And that realization was harder than accepting the relationship itself. Because it meant this wasn't just about them anymore. It was about me, my attachment, my expectations, the version of love I had built in my head, and how badly I wanted it to be real. So I kept giving chances even when I knew nothing was changing. I kept waiting even when I had already seen the pattern. I kept hoping even when reality was right in front of me. And that's when I started noticing something else. Something even more uncomfortable. It wasn't just that they weren't changing, it's that I was the one adapting. Every single time, I was the one adjusting my expectations, lowering my needs, silencing my feelings, just to keep something that, deep down, I already knew wasn't enough. And that's where the real conflict begins. Not between you and them, but inside you. Because part of you sees everything clearly, and another part still wants to stay, still wants to believe, still wants to fix it. And those two parts don't live in peace. They pull you in opposite directions. One says, this isn't right. The other says, maybe it can still work. One says, you deserve more. The other says, what if this is the best you'll get? And that internal fight is exhausting because no matter what you do, you lose something. If you stay, you lose yourself. If you leave, you lose the version of the future you are holding on to. And I wasn't ready to lose that, not yet. So I stayed. Even when it hurt, even when it didn't make sense anymore, even when I couldn't recognize myself in the process. And the scariest part is you get used to that feeling, that discomfort, that constant questioning. It becomes your normal again. But this time, it's heavier because now you know, you see the gaps, you feel the distance, you recognize the inconsistency, and still you wake up every day and choose to stay. And that creates a different kind of guilt because now you can't blame ignorance. And that guilt, it doesn't scream, it whispers in small moments you don't expect. When you're alone, when everything is quiet, when there's nothing distracting you from what you already know, that's when it hits. Not as a dramatic realization, but as a quiet discomfort you can't shake. Because now, it's not just about what they're doing, it's about what you're allowing. And that's a very hard thing to sit with, because for so long, I was focused on understanding them, their behavior, their patterns, their distance. But now the focus had shifted, and I didn't know what to do with that, because looking at them was easier. It gave me something to analyze, something to fix, something to wait for. But looking at myself meant facing something I wasn't ready to admit, that I had been abandoning myself, little by little. Every time I stayed quiet when I wanted to speak, every time I accepted less than what I needed, every time I convinced myself that this is just how relationships are. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. You start noticing the moments, the exact second where you choose silence over honesty, where you choose comfort over truth, where you choose staying over respecting what you feel. And those moments, they start to add up until they form a pattern, not theirs, yours. And that realization is one of the hardest ones to accept, because it takes away the illusion that you're just a victim of the situation. It shows you that you've been participating in it, not consciously, not intentionally, but consistently. And that doesn't mean it's your fault, but it does mean you have more power than you thought. And that power is uncomfortable, because if you have the power to stay, you also have the power to leave. And realizing that means you can't hide behind confusion anymore. Now it's a choice, and choices come with responsibility. You can't say you didn't know, you did, and you stayed anyway. And that's where shame starts to grow, quietly, because you don't talk about this part. You don't tell people, I see everything and I'm still here. So you keep it inside and you try to justify it. Maybe I just need more time. Maybe I'm not ready yet. Maybe things will shift. But deep down, those aren't answers. They're delays. And delays feel safer than decisions, because decisions require loss. And loss is something I was avoiding at all costs, even if staying was slowly costing me everything: my peace, my clarity, my emotional stability, the way I saw myself. Because the more I stayed, the more disconnected I felt from who I used to be. And that's something no one prepares you for. That moment where you look at yourself and realize you're no longer acting like you. You're reacting, you're adjusting, you're surviving, but you're not you. And that realization is not loud. It's quiet, subtle, but it stays with you in small moments. When you hesitate before speaking, when you overthink simple things, when you feel anxious without a clear reason. And all of that starts to build up until one day, you can't ignore it anymore. Not them, you, the version of you that stayed. And that's when the question changes again. It's no longer, why are they like this? It becomes, why am I accepting this? And the question is uncomfortable in a completely different way. Because now, there's no one else to analyze, no one else to figure out. It is just you, your patterns, your fears, your limits. And the truth is, I didn't have a clear answer. At least not at first. But I started noticing something. I wasn't staying because I didn't know. I was staying because leaving felt more terrifying than staying. Leaving meant facing reality, letting go of the idea, accepting that it wasn't going to become what I hoped. And that kind of acceptance requires a level of emotional detachment that I didn't have yet. So I stayed until staying became heavier than living. And that shift doesn't happen overnight. It builds slowly, in moments, in realizations, in small pieces of clarity that you can't unsee anymore. Until one day, you don't feel confused, you don't feel hopeful, you feel tired tired of trying, tired of adjusting, tired of holding something that isn't holding you back. And that kind of tired is different. It doesn't ask for explanations, it asks for change. And that's when something starts to move. Not dramatically, not all at once, but enough. Enough for you to start pulling back. Enough for you to stop chasing. Enough for you to see that staying is no longer protecting you. It's hurting you, and once you feel that shift, you can't ignore it anymore. Because now it's not about them, it's about you choosing what you're no longer willing to carry. And that's where everything begins to change. Not because they changed, but because you finally did. And even then, leaving isn't always immediate. Sometimes, the hardest part isn't seeing the truth, it's acting on it. And that's something no one really prepares you for. Because awareness, it doesn't automatically create action. There's a space in between, a painful one, where you know, but you're not gone yet. And if you've ever been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That space where everything is clear, but nothing has changed yet. And that space is where I stayed the longest. And what I didn't understand at the time is that there was a reason for that, a deeper one. Not about them, but about me. Because leaving wasn't just walking away from a person. It was about breaking something inside me that had been there long before them. And until I faced that, I couldn't fully leave, no matter how clear things became. And that's the part I had to understand next.